Hey, Megan Scully, and this is the Limerick Post Show. And joining me now, it is Una McCarthy of the Limerick City Gallery of Art. You're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
At Home on the Farm exhibition by Mary Burke. What can you tell us about this one?
My heart is bleeding as I even begin to tell you about it, Meghann, because we've been working on the exhibition for about 2.5 years. When I say we, Mary sent me a proposal. She had previously worked on two other projects. One was based in Tala, a very urban or suburban area, if you like, of Dublin. And then another project in where is Electric Picnic held?
Stradbally.
Stradbally. So she proposed a very different series of works where she would like to work with farms. And the reason that she wanted to concentrate on farms was because they combined both a working life, but also a home life. So the two were actually combined, and she felt that that was a very interesting place to start. But as she said, little did she realize what it would mean to her. I mean, she's very much, Dublin based, but then there is nobody in this country that is more than 2 generations away from the land, I would suggest. I'm certainly one of those. And Mary herself would feel that. But I mean, her experiences have been very much urban, suburban. And with great gusto, she came down, and through a process of almost self-selection, I would suggest, 5 farmers kind of came forward or were approached after a meeting we held in Kilmallock County Library, which was facilitated by the librarian there, Noreen O'Neill. And it was really fantastic, because I was afraid, I have to say, when we began this, that we would end up with all these dairy farms in, County Limerick. That's my maternal grandparents' background. And I thought, all these black and white Frisians, kind of boring. But actually that didn't happen. And, I was so thrilled about that. So the first man who presented himself, if you like, was from Thomastown in County Limerick, and he is actually a retired farmer. And the farm had been in his family for 3 generations. Wow. And certainly for me growing up, that was not something that you ever heard of, a retired farmer, the eldest son, prima facie and all of that, or primogenitor, I should say, always, inherited the farm. But people no longer want to farm. It's a very heavy load. It's 365, particularly if you're a dairy farmer. It's twice a day out to the milking parlour, and the calving season, which is just about to start, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that was Stan Brown from Thomastown. And then the other man who presented himself was a guy called Morgan Murphy, who is from east of Kilmallock. And his great pride and joy is that there are parts of his farm which have never been replanted with or reseeded. So the actual grass on his farm goes back to Neolithic times.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's kind of fascinating. He's also begun to kind of reconsider his role as a farmer, and has really taken a very organic route, and has started beekeeping and, making baskets and growing willow. And, so it's very much, it's a sustainable model, if you like. And then we fast forward to John Mcnamara, who lives over in Knockany. And John is, this new breed of farmer. He, is almost a scientist, and his approach to his farm is that of, where he is constantly looking at the quality of his grass, because that has an automatic implication for the quality and quantity of his milk. So, you've somebody who's looking at the PhD of his grass, blah, blah, blah. And then a neighbour of his, David Ryan, who has a farm on the shores of Lough Gur. It's a very evocative place to have a farm and to farm. And it's really quite beautiful. His is a mixed farm, so a bit more dry stock, no dairy, and a bit of tillage. And then finally, a colleague of mine in the local authority mentioned, when she heard me talking about this about 2 years ago, she said, Una, social farming, have you ever come across it? And I hadn't, to be honest with you. It wasn't something that I was aware of. And she mentioned this woman farmer back in Shannagolden, June Danaher. And June is part of this campaign or organization, really, of social farmers, and they're dotted all over the country. To the best of my knowledge, there are 4 in County Limerick. And they basically facilitate people with special needs or with learning difficulties, or just who don't feel at one with society as we know it. And this gives them the opportunity to commune a little bit with nature, to feel useful, and also to work alongside others. So that's the spirit of it. And Mary came down and she took over 1,000 photographs.
Wow.
On each of these farms. In 2019, she was here for maybe 3 to 4 months, just visiting the farms, getting to know the farmers, and the little things that would catch her eye that perhaps you or I mightn't notice. And they are very much about the working farm. You know, there's nothing bucolic. It isn't about the landscape. It isn't the romance of a Paul Henry and the west of Ireland. This is the milking parlor. This is, you know, the place where you disinfect before you go into the shed. You know, this is the silo pit with all the black tires keeping down the polythene masses. And it's so evocative of, you know, as Mary kept saying to me, it's the passion that these people have about the work that they do on the land that they own. But I was also, and this is not a sentimental journey, by the way, you know, or a nostalgic one. This is really looking at the cruacha of farming life in Ireland. So we have put together a very interesting program to celebrate that. I mentioned at the outset, Meghann, that my heart is bleeding because I have no doubt, but that this would have been one of the more popular exhibitions that we would have had hosted. And there was a conversation between Martin Parr and Mary. That's why I put the 2 of them together. You know, it's not just a serendipitous bit of whatever. It was working towards reaching perhaps an audience that we mightn't always engage with. And that is kind of my modus operandi, if you like. I come from, you know, pretty much a rural background myself, but I have chosen to live in a very urban sphere, and people kind of think, oh, well, you run an art gallery, therefore, you know, what would you know about, you know, farming? Well, I know a lot more than a lot of people, I suspect. I've been out TB testing with my father on many the occasion, but it was also, I suppose, an opportunity for me to link the city and the county, and to show off, if you like, the richness of our agricultural history, and not to be afraid of it, but also to put it in the context of this, shall we say, white cube space in Perry Square. And somebody said to me, that's quite a radical thing to have done, because the visual arts don't necessarily treat farming as a very necessary part of our lives.
And I suppose
You know,
not many farmers will be too, I suppose, open to letting photographers in as well, which I suppose is a huge thing to have, for Mary to have gone in there and to capture those moments, as you said, that, because I know from my farming background, you know, you'd be very hesitant about letting people you don't know step onto your farm, and especially into so many different areas of the farm, which is amazing to have captured that as well.
it really was. And again, I mean, I mentioned, you know, what Mary would have, the thing that struck her was the passion. But I would also suggest there was that huge generosity of the farmers. And as you said, yeah, I mean, people are very precious, and, you know, they don't want to necessarily reveal to the world and all. But that is exactly what they did. And Mary has always worked to quite a domestic, we would call it, scale of work. You know, it wouldn't be big. But she said this work forced her to go bigger and larger than she has ever done before. And she has her studio in her back garden in Dublin. And all through lockdown, she said she would go out there, and she was transported to County Limerick. You know, she spent 21 months solidly creating these 26 paintings. So it's a kind of hard to get your head around it. You kind of come in and you think, oh, there it is, but the actual toil, the working, and the dedication that she brought to this. So for the third time, I say that my heart is bleeding, because the farmers and their families who were so intimately involved in this won't see the work in the flesh, if you like. We had to go online with this exhibition, and it's the first time we've done it, but it's something that I think, it isn't going to be the same experience, end of. But I would hope that there will be an occasion for us to maybe show the exhibition elsewhere, because it is universal. I mean, even though they're all farms in County Limerick, I mean, it could just as easily be in County Galway or County Cork or Tipperary or wherever. But yeah, I mentioned as well that we had this, program that we have devised with the assistance of Liz Kelly, which is a real celebration of the very many different facets that the arts are involved, if you believe it, in farming, from poetry and farming, which was one that was kind of new to me, to women farmers, something that is very close to my heart. And we're talking here where women are taking the lead. For many generations, women were in the background. It was feeding the hens out in the haggard, or it was, just putting that little bit aside, the pin money, as my mother used to call it, to a very provocative debate around the economics of farming, called Full and Plenty. And there will be a whole series of people on that, economists, sociologists. And I think it will really bring to the fore the central part that farming still plays, despite the EU and the changes that came with the EU. And I should add at this point as well that Mary never set out to have any kind of political view at all. This is a very, this is what she saw, this is what she has made, and people can make of it what they will. But I mean, universally and globally, farming, is in a sorry state. It's in a worrying state. And there is the other universal issues such as climate change, and there's the whole debate around other issues as well. So, we want the exhibition to be the launch pad for a discussion and for recognizing the positive role that farming plays, but that is not to say that we can't and won't be critical as well of things that we feel should and could be improved.
That's amazing. And Una, for those who want to watch this exhibition, because I'm telling you, both from now, I've all these images in my head, so I know I'm only dying to see it. Where can we view it?
So as of originally, the exhibition would have officially launched this coming Thursday. So we will have a link. It is www.limerickgallerypages.com, and that will go live on Friday. Friday afternoon, Friday the 26th. We won't have the PAR exhibition up for that. This will be specifically to do with At Home on the Farm, but there will be images from the Martin Parr exhibition to follow. But just check out our website as well, and you will get updates there, plus all the usual social media platforms that we have. And I can send you details of those if you want to put them up as well.
Una McCarthy of the Limerick City Gallery of Art, thank you so much for chatting to us on the Limerick Post Show about the exhibitions. And I know you've definitely painted an incredible image for all of us. And I hope that everyone that is watching tunes in, clicks in, and goes to view these. And hopefully in the not so distant future, we'll all be able to go back into that lovely location in Perry Square and see all that you have on offer.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.